So let's hope I stay awake.
Thank you for staying up for us, Venerable Robina. It's wonderful to have you.
Okay, dokie. Here we are. What's going on like there?
Well, we've got it's about 24 degrees. It's sunny.
Okay, good.
Yeah, delightful here in Melbourne.
Good. I'm happy.
Yeah.
What about Sydney? What's Sydney like? And it's probably freezing another where Barbara is. It's pretty chilly, Barbara, right? You're not 24 degrees Celsius, aren't you? You're probably 2 degrees Celsius. Okay. Okay, darling people. And yeah, okay, good. So what's we're going to talk about? You said I could talk about anything, but what do you want to talk about? What's a good idea?
Well, the topic is bringing the Dharma to Christmas dinner. So I think, we come together with our family. We get a bit, it's joyful and excited. We also get tested. So really the best way for us to be with the people that we are to, for the best benefit of everybody in these next few days. Advice on how we can do that. And then we've all got questions.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we all know our mind is the problem somehow. Ha ha, what a joke. We never think it is, but we have to remind ourselves our mind is the problem, not our neurotic grandfather or mean, ugly sister. But before we even get anywhere near the mind, and somehow when I first heard this teaching, I thought it was rather boring. They say, well, you control the speech and the body first. You behave nicely. I thought, what a boring teaching. I thought I was, Buddhists talk about the mind and being mindful and blah, 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 and meditating. But somehow behaving nicely is the most profound advice you could ever get. If the world behaved nicely, behavior meaning body and speech, right? Not the mind. But we don't make that distinction in the West. We just sort of think of ourselves as a big lump of me, right? We don't even consider the mind. But behavior we think we get resentful. How dare you tell me how to behave? We'll think I can behave like I like. That's how we think, isn't it? But if we behave nicely, which meant if we actually disciplined our body and speech, look at the world, it'd be utterly transformed. Then, of course, the real job has to happen. Look at the mind. And they say, the Tibetans, whether it's a Tibetan saying, I'm not sure, I think it's a Tibetan saying, they say, when you're with others, you watch your behavior. When you're on your own, then you can watch your mind. So, of course, if you're advanced enough, you can do all three together. But somehow it's actually incredible advice. And it just really shows we think we're good little Buddhists and we do our practices every day. But as soon as one person says one word, we vomit out the mouth, isn't it? We have zero control, So I think it's because we don't really distinguish this as a very particular practice, And if you can really focus on that, it's like it's a revelation, If you can realize, yes, you've got an angry mind and you get upset with your sister, whatever. But, if you really make a decision, don't worry about the anger. Just worry about the speech. Don't vomit it out the mouth. And that when you decide, it's not that difficult to do, but you have to decide. What we tend to say is, oh, I get angry, I get angry. I'm angry. And we don't separate the anger and the thoughts with what comes out the mouth, but they're two separate events, And so the easier one to control, the easier one, once we decide, is the speech. So, okay, we don't go around raping and killing our families too often, I presume, right? It's the speech that's like unbelievable speech. And I know again, like I said, when I first heard this, I thought it was boring, What do you mean behave nicely? Because yes, we have this kind of idea. Well, we don't consider it as a particular practice. It sounds rather silly. It sounds rather boring to control your speech, but it's stupendous, That's why that lovely meditation, I just adore that meditation. I even do it before we finish this evening, where we bless the speech. It sounds so sweet to think of blessing your speech. And as we know from with the Dharma, especially if you practice Tantra, there's this incredible distinction between body, speech, and mind. You've got the three bodies of the Buddha, the body, the Dharmakaya is the transformed mind, the Sambhogakaya is a transformed speech, and the Nirmanakaya is a transformed body. So there's always this emphasis on the body, the speech, and the mind, and it's got all the way to Buddhahood: body, speech, and mind. So it's a revelation when we can get it right. And speech and body come first. That's why the Lam Rim, the very first level, the essence of the first scope of practice is all about karma, and karma is taught at the level of body and speech. He's not just, and when you take the vows, we're describing body and speech. Vows aren't about the mind. Vows are about behavior. The 10 non-virtues. I mean, okay, the last 3, where Buddha gets us just to begin to work on the mind, at least control the grosser levels of the 3 poisons. The first 7 are the body and the speech, because they do the harm to others. So the more we analyze it like this, the more we understand this, it's really kind of powerful, you know. It really helps us understand. And then we can focus on that part of ourselves. We make it so, especially when you're going to be with a whole part of people, so obvious, you know. So for Americans, their big deal is Thanksgiving. I mean, for us Australians, Christmas is our big deal. I'm just reading today, you know, and it's totally common that an article in the New York Times that in Australia there is you know, there's evidence, and it's not surprising, that more women get murdered at Christmas time, which means it's family. Because I mean, like, there's this typical number I always quote, and you read about it: 40% of all female people on the planet who get killed, you know, are killed by the bloke in the same bed. This is not about men. It's not about men and women. It's not a feminist issue. It's attachment and anger issue. And it's uncontrolled body, uncontrolled speech, you know, because we just assume it's me, this big lump of me. What do you mean control I've got to control my anger, we say, and we mean the mind, but when we also mean what comes out the mouth, but we've got to distinguish between these two. They're separate events. And that's why, again, first level of practice, abiding by the laws of karma, living in vows, is incredible emphasis on disciplining, you know, the servants of your mind, which is the body and the speech. We really don't think this way, but when you do start to distinguish these, it's, as I said, it really is a revelation. And then you can start to make a decision. So, okay, so how to approach this practice, you know? Well, because so anything, we all have to decide. When you decide to do something, that's when you do it. So that's why the 4 opponent powers, as Lama Zopa says, we are insane not to do it every day. So you do it at the end of the day, and then, you know, there's Christmas Eve. By the time you get to the end of the day for you people, whatever it is, you do your 4 opponent powers, and you make a very particular emphasis, knowing where you're going to go tomorrow for Christmas lunch, or maybe it's over the 3 days because the families all divide up. You know, maybe it's tonight or something. You think about where you're going to be, you think about who's going to be there, and you think about the people you have problems with, and then you make this firm decision. You purify at the end of the day, and then you make this in the morning before you start, you make this firm decision. Okay, today I'm going to control my speech. I mean, if you don't say that, you won't do it. It's obvious when you decide something is when you do it. As Lama Zopa says, everything exists on the tip of the wish. That's the meaning of the word intention, not motivation, intention, volition, I will. That's the first step in any action. The starting point is I will. And so you say, I will watch my speech like a hawk. I will simply keep my mouth shut. So another way to help that job, you know, because sometimes maybe you're resisting going, or you don't want to go, or you're groan when you go. So another to couple with that decision, and this helps a lot, do that, is you just think, okay, I'm going to be there. I'm going to leave my I at the door, leave me at the door. And this is the compassion wing. This is the very control of speech is like junior school. Then you got high school where you control your attachment and your anger. And now the university level, the compassion wing, that's where you think, you can also think, you know what, I'm going to leave me at the door, and I'm going to decide I'm going to be there for everybody else. My mum, my grandmother, my ugly cousin, my sister. I'm going to just be there for them. And I'm going to wash the dishes, and I'll cut the cake, and I'll say hello, and I'll serve a drink, and I'll zip my lip, and I'll just leave me out of it and let people do and say what they like. Because once you decide that, it's surprisingly easy. You have to make this shift, you know, and then you're there for other people. And you don't have to walk around looking like Pollyanna. You just shut your mouth and let people have their own views. Let people have their own views and say what they like. Once we decide it, I tell you, it's not complicated. And you just be nice. I tell you, it's incredible. I always tell people this, I'm not trying to say because we're all saints in my family, because we're absolutely not. But for years and years now, because we were 7 kids, there's only 6 now. My older sister fell down the stairs last year, so she died. We always used to fight as kids. We'd be all volatile, all bossy like me. And the first 6 are girls, and the last one's a poor brother, Tony. We're all bossy. We're all bossy, right? And bossy and run the world and think we're right, you know. And so we'd fight. We're close, but we'd fight. Then we'd be friends again. And then we come, you know, as we grow up, we leave home, we come home at Christmas, and, you know, you drink your wine, your mouth gets loose, and you argue and you fight. And then we make up again. But there's only so many times you can do that, you know. And we're all old now. We're all between 70 and 80. I was 79 2 days ago. I think I'm the same age as you, Peter Giuliano. Weren't we both born in the year of the monkey? Peter Giuliano, is that right? You were born in 1944? I think you're older than me. I turned 79 December 20. I think you're older. Anyway, never mind. I always remember Peter's year of the monkey as well. I thought so. So anyway, there I was 79. So we're all between 70 and 80. And somehow we, you know, all got our own views about everything. And so now we have this unspoken agreement. We pretty much keep it. Then when we're on the phone to each other, we don't talk about each other except to say good things. And when we're together, we don't have arguments. So when you do that, you don't just be silent. When you're not arguing and sticking your view in everybody else down everybody's throat, you're actually leaving space to have to find things that are in common. And so we spend wonderful time cracking jokes and laughing, you know, because you're leaving the space for that. I mean, it's incredible. I'm not trying to say we're saints, but this just, it's sort of like we just got used to the habit of it. And it's incredibly helpful. I can't tell you. I mean, this, for me, this is the very first teaching you ever get. And it's taken me all these years from hearing these lamas to begin to realize the benefit of controlling your behavior. I mean, this is Lama Yeshe, you know, I mean, must be my worst problem in my life, my behavior. Lama said, when I was being Lama's attendant one year in London, I'm in London. I forgot I'm in London. As Lama's attendant, I was also full of self-pity and misery. I don't know. I can't remember why. And I was moaning about myself. And I can't remember. And he said, there's nothing wrong with you. He said, there's nothing wrong with your heart, dear. It's just your behavior. And it was sort of like a revelation. You don't distinguish yourself from your behavior. You just think it's me, you know. But it was so easy what he said. There's nothing wrong with your heart, dear. It's just your behavior. So I thought, oh, it's only my behavior that's the problem. Well, that's helpful. I'm okay. And it was really, I can't tell you, it was a revelation. And that was years after hearing the Dharma first. I began to understand this one. So you've got to make a decision. You just got to make a decision, you know. But this is the trouble with attachment. Now we're talking about the mind. Attachment wants to stick its nose in everything on the planet. It can't mind its own business. It's got to stick its nose in and then have an opinion. And of course, that means a critical opinion. And then anger pops up. And that's the problem, you know. So you just decide. I'm going to control my speech like a hawk. But what helps it is this compassion component. Leave yourself at the door and just be there for others, for God's sake, you know. And then you'll have a happy time. You won't mind hearing about the ugly politics and the boring opinions and your white supremacist nephew or something. You won't care. It won't matter. But you got to decide. You got to decide, you know. So that's what I have to say. And it's only 14 minutes, so it didn't take me long. So now you're going to have to ask me questions. Okay.
So if anyone's got questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can put them in the chat.
Put your hand up and chat to me. Talk to me. Anybody, anything at all. Even doesn't have to be on the topic. It doesn't matter. That was my bit of advice. My 2 cents worth. Who's talking to me?
Yeah. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
It's me. Tanya did put a question in the chat, but it just says bodhicitta ? So I don't know, Tanya, if you'd like to elaborate.
Okay, so Tanya, listen, Tanya, bodhicitta sounds great, but that's sort of like Yes, of course, but it's easy to use that word. It's easy to use that word. But when I said leave yourself at the door, what else do you think I was saying? Leave yourself at the door and put others first. That's exactly what bodhicitta means. Bodhicitta, when you finally got it, this outrageous, over the top, insane level of practice. When you've got bodhicitta, that's literally what you've done. You've literally made this complete shift in your mind, and now others exist for you, and you've left yourself out of it. That's exactly what I'm saying. Leave yourself at the door. That will tremendously help you then have this courage to shut your mouth. So absolutely, Tanya, you're dead right. Who else?
But there was a question. Someone was asking if there's a way that they can see you in London while you're there.
I see. Well, then why don't you email me, robinacorton@mac.com, robinacorton@mac.com, and then we can work it out. I'm here for a couple of days. Please look forward to hearing from you. Okay. What else, darling people?
Well, Paul has asked, is there anything from your old Catholic upbringing that's still useful today?
Oh, masses of stuff. I mean, I'm an old Catholic. Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, what to say? You know, I speak it in Buddha, the advice that I got as a Catholic, I now speak it in Buddhist terms, but you know, the teachings about compassion, the teaching about putting others first, that's all there, isn't it? But that wasn't so much how I thought as a kid. I was just a bit in love with God, I think. I loved God. I used to think about God and Our Lady and the saints. I don't think I thought too much about love and compassion. So I don't remember many of those teachings, but they're all there for sure, aren't they, Paul? Absolutely. Yeah. But none of the teachings about Christmas or Jesus I don't think about all that. I mean, I know that's what it is for people, and I respect that. None of that particularly gets into my heart. No. That's about all, Paul. What else, sweet people? Talk to me. Open up a can of worms.
There's one from John. Hello, Robina. John from Sydney. When you talk of the mind, are you distinguishing between mind and the afflictions, the things we attach?
I understand. Well, afflictions is this word, as you know very well, afflictions, which is a rather old-fashioned word. And what was amazing, Lama Yeshe, this genius, incredible Lama, whom some of us knew, who first met Western people in the 70s, I always just joke and say Lama was born a hippie and then pretended to be a Tibetan because Tibetans were so radically different, sort of like talking in, I mean, Lama Zopa, when he taught first, it might as well have been the 10th century Tibet. They hadn't changed their style, but Lama Yeshe somehow had this extraordinary ability to speak like a modern person, you know. And so he could see straight away this word affliction, and we don't use that word, it's arcane. But it's the classical translation of the Sanskrit and the Tibetan word. And that word affliction is something within your mind. So John, you must know, the Buddhist view of the mind is very different. I mean, we refer to the brain when we say the mind in the West, but Buddha doesn't refer to the brain. He doesn't mean we haven't got a brain. But he says your mind or your consciousness, and these words are used synonymously, are words you use to refer to your intellect, your thoughts, your feelings, emotions, unconscious, subconscious, instinct, intuition, this entire spectrum of your inner being. But it also includes all the negative, neurotic, unhappy afflictions, as they say in Buddhism, or delusions, anger, attachment, jealousy, low self-esteem, arrogance, all of those qualities, these which we are very familiar with, they are what Buddha refers to as the afflictions, the mental afflictions, or if you like, a better translation, mental illnesses, which is quite shocking to hear, but that's exactly Buddha's view. That's what he means by an affliction. Affliction is a problem. So you got mental problems, and they're called attachment, and they're called anger, and they're called jealousy. Okay, we use Greek words in modern psychology. God knows why. Never mind. But Buddha just speaks, regular words. So they're the afflictions. They're the delusions. They're the mental problems that we have that Buddha has found from his own experience are the source of our own suffering. and therefore why we harm others. So, and he happens to have found from his own experience that they're not at the core of our being, and we can get rid of them. And that's really the basis of what Buddhist practice is, learning to distinguish your neuroses from the other part of your mind, which is called your love and your kindness and your compassion and your intelligence and your forgiveness and your self-confidence. So you've got the neurotic, ridiculous states of mind, the voices of ego, and you got your wonderful quality, your virtuous states of mind, which are our saving grace. This is the essence of the Buddhist approach about the mind, John. So when I'm saying the mind, I mean, in general, the thoughts and feelings and emotions, and in particular, the problematic ones are the neurotic ones, the afflicted ones, the deluded ones, the attachment and anger and jealousy and those. That's how we're talking here, John.
Okay, we have a question from Roy. Is there a particular...
Hang on, John has something to say. Wait a minute. What do you want to say, John?
Oh, no, I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks a lot, John. Great.
Right.
Go on. Go.
Okay, Roy has asked, is there a particular Lam meditation you would suggest to practice prior to the holiday get-together?
Yeah, of course. I mean, all these ones, but I would say really, I want to do it. I want to do it before we finish today. We'll do a little meditation as a guided meditation on blessing your speech. I mean, it's so cute. I just adore this practice. So, of course, any of the Lam meditations, what I've just been saying in simple Australian language is the Lam meditation, isn't it? Learn to see the disadvantages of shooting your mouth off. Learn to see the advantages of putting other people first. One is from the first scope and one is from the third scope, the great scope, So any one of those, but I think putting them in simple language can be very helpful. So absolutely. What else is there, Jason? People, any questions, discussions, points to bring up? Huh? People?
Hello.
Yep.
Loretta's wanted to say something. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Loretta, talk to me.
I've got two things. One is I'm really aware of the intellectually, I totally see where you're going and agree absolutely we need to leave ourselves at the door. There is this yes but.
So good. Talk about it. Talk about it. It's great. Talk about it.
And
Loretta.
So I'm curious about for any advice you'd have about how to get over myself or how we get over ourselves with the yes but, hanging on, clinging to self.
No, I know. I think, listen, I think the thing is, it's because being in a group of people, we're talking here about how to deal with being in a group of people, often family. If you're on your own or you're in the street and something goes wrong, you might not have to leave yourself at the door. You might have to say something. But we're here, it's an extreme situation of a bunch of volatile human beings, and in the kind of I mean, some people have a drink, your mouth gets loose, people get all kind of intense. So in an extreme situation with many people, often family and friends with whom you've got a long history, it's a dramatic and easy thing to do. You don't say, yes, but I'm allowed to have an argument with my communist brother. It's not the time and the place. That's all I'm getting at, because it's intense when you've got even a 4 or 5 people together, It's just, you need an extreme, I think you need an extreme decision. Other times it might be appropriate, and there are the but yes, but here it's just an easy thing. Once you really decide it, you really have to decide it. I'm going to leave myself at just leave your issues, leave your rubbish behind, and just, if you're going to go, this is the point now, if you know who's going to be there, this is another answer actually. If you know who's going to be there, but you really don't believe you're capable of leaving yourself at the door, then honey child, don't go. Call in sick. You can't have it both ways. So you've got to have some confidence that you can say, I'll shut my mouth and I'll leave myself at the door. Then you'll have a good time. If you're not confident and you really don't think you can, then you can't have it both ways. You can't go, oh, I have to go, I'll feel guilty otherwise. Oh, I have to go, they're all expecting me, but at the same time really not feel you're confident not to vomit out your feelings. Then you're in serious trouble. So if you really feel you can't do that, ring up and say you're sick. And no one can say you're not sick. So you've got to decide.
Yeah,
One of the key things is I think one more thing, Loretta, I think our biggest problem often, we're a little bit like lemmings or like puppets. Would be dragged from pillar to post by all this pressure of families. We're supposed to do this and we should do this and we shouldn't do this. And we're not really deciding consciously. We've got to be grown up and really make decisions. Are you getting my point here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm very confident that I can do it because of that idea of you just make that decision and you do it for
that's right.
the others
Yeah.
that you love, and you know, even the people that you find difficult that you love. And I suppose the other thing is extending that into not just a one-off. How does this become? Because sometimes it's like, we get all motivated to do this, and we make the decision at the Christmas, and then bang, we've ticked it, and then
of course, then exactly we fall off the wagon again, don't we?
Yeah,
I know. No, I understand. So it's got to be a gradual process, but sometimes when it's a dramatic experience, like 10 people all together, it's like you're in a danger area. You've got to be very careful, you know. And then just every single day. But I think the big thing is for me, like I said, is to get this idea. First of all, the speech one, that it is a very specific practice to make a decision to control your speech. Making a decision to leave you shut at the door, that's a different discussion too, but they both can go nicely together.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, you understand. Yeah, good, darling. So what else was there, Jason?
Iona says, all my friends feel this year end particularly overwhelmed, just a general sense of dread. Life is harder, we are older and have more responsibilities and less fun. What's the best way to turn your mind around?
Oh, Petal, where's Iona? What happened to you? Are you 22 or 92, Iona? I can't tell by you sound like you're 22. Where's Iona? Where is she? I can't see her name. Where is she? You're 43. Oh, you're about midway, darling. Okay. You're older. Yes, you are. You're older, baby. And it's difficult. Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting, isn't it? So maybe when you're all, I don't know. Yeah, because everyone has a different opinion about that. I can't think it's worse year than any other year. For me, it's been probably not as bad. So that just shows, doesn't it? That's an interesting point, darling. I mean, you know, can you talk to me? It's nice to hear what your words are. Can you speak to me or not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Come on, talk to me, darling.
It's just like I feel like a lot of my friends are going to the same thing, and like we are kind of like
I think I see you. So is it because of politics or what is it? I mean, is something that rings big bells for you or not? The politics of the world or
the
what?
general state of the world and like aging parents, more
No, I get it. I see
responsibility.
it. No, that makes sense. No, that really does make sense. No, I hear you, sweetheart. I mean, yeah, I hear it. So this is well, you know, if there's other friends like you who are similar, I mean, you know, one of the things we have to do is work on our own mind, body, and speech, but also we need support. Do you have support? Do you feel like you've got support? Other people who go through the same things?
Yeah.
That's important. When we're feeling a bit fragile, we need good support from people who love us and who know what we're going through. I understand that. No, that's really important. That's I would say, apart from your practice every day, which is what, you know, presumably you have a practice, it's extra important to have support. You know, it is extra important to have support. That makes us a bit more courageous, I think.
Okay.
That's my
Thank
piece.
you.
Besides your practice every day, make sure you find support from other people. That really does help. I think so, Iona. All right, darling. Thank you, sweetheart. What else was there, Jason?
We've got Ree has asked, okay, leave yourself at the door. How do you deal with negative family and aggression from the family members? How best to calm things down?
Don't calm it down, darling. Leave them be. Let them do what they want. Let them be aggressive. Let them shout and yell and drink and fall on the floor. And if it gets too difficult, you say, goodbye, Mum. I'm out of here. See you next year. Come on, honey. It's possible. You don't have to make things good, Ree. Please, Ree, please leave them alone. Let them be. What do you think, Ree? Do you think it's possible to do that? Or you're just such a good girl, you've got to make it all nice? What do you think?
I like it nice, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
That is the point, darling. That's the interesting point about attachment. Attachment is the junkie in us that wants everything to be lovely. And that is what attachment wants. It wants everything to be lovely, which is why we panic attack when it's not lovely. But that's the one you have to just decide. And so that's a really good point you brought up. Thank you. That's a really good point. You see, in my family, it's so funny, all my different sisters, we all joke about the different methods we used when the dramas happened, but for some reason, I never cared if it got aggressive. I mean, my father would drive like a maniac, and my mother and my sisters all have a mental breakdown. I didn't mind. My father would be coming home drunk or something, and I didn't mind. But another one of my sisters, she spent her life as a child trying to make everything nice. So I have other things that I didn't care about, but I didn't mind about the aggression. In fact, I was probably in the middle of the aggression. So we all like and don't like different things, but many people are like that, They want everything to be lovely, and then they feel they have to make it lovely. You'll have a mental breakdown, Reed. That's the point about leave yourself at the door. It really is an immensely powerful practice, and of course, it's your job to love everybody. And if you can make them happy, but really look at your own fear of the aggression. I mean, that's an enormous one for people. Really look at that. Really look at how you can't handle other people's aggression. And this is the part that's really interesting, but it's hard to see it. We think we freak out because of the aggression. No, we freak out because of our own attachment and anger. Your own aversion. Your aversion to their anger is what makes you miserable. And that's a very powerful one to get. But we always think they are the problem. And so we then get absorbed in it like sponge, That's why if you leave yourself at the door, it takes courage to do that, because if your habit is to try to make things nice, it's a very difficult thing. But you've got to just decide what they're like and let them be, and find the way to just be there for them. And I mean, if it gets too much, you just have to sneak out the door, and they're not going to notice. They'll be busy fighting each other. You understand? That's a really powerful point.
I do.
It's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, my love.
Okay.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Dave has a question. So Dave, just unmute yourself and ask.
Go, Dave.
Hi, Venerable Robina.
Hello, Dave.
Just a question about Bodhisattva vows. So I've had 2 occasions where I haven't really wanted to go to an event. I've been invited. I'll come over for lunch or whatever. And I've sort of gone, I don't really want to go. I thought I wouldn't be very cheerful. So I've said, let's do a rain check. But then afterwards I felt, but I'm denying that person the opportunity to practice generosity.
That's exactly that. No, that's really good. That is a vow you've got, that is a vow you've got. And if you can keep it, then it's wonderful. But if you've got a motivation that you think is a valid motivation not to go, then that's okay. You won't break the vow otherwise. So you've got to really decide if you really can't handle it. You've got to, in other words, don't just go say, oh, no, I don't want to, in your mind, I can't cope with them. Try and have a good motivation for saying no. Whether it's your own capacity, or if it's just a bit laziness or you can't be bothered, then it's not a good motivation. So that's the thing about a Bodhisattva vow. You don't break it by doing it. You break it based on the motivation. So you're absolutely right. It's a very good vow to think about, that one. You prevent that person the opportunity from creating generosity. So if you've got a good reason, that's fine. If not, then give it a go. That's a good point. Well done, David. It means
I'll check my I'll ask what's my motivation before I do it. I'll go, is it true?
Or make it a good one. If you sincerely, I mean, because you're the
I know what you mean. Yeah,
good. You. Well done. Good on you, Dave. That's a good point. What else, people?
Casey says, dear Venerable, hello from Melbourne. Thank you for your teachings. I hope to meet you next time you're in Melbourne. I'm relatively new to Buddhism. What does Buddhism say about dealing with stress and anxiety in everyday life?
Well, those 2 words, probably you won't find them in the Buddhist list of mental afflictions, but they're variations. They're the consequences. They're of these 2 simple states of mind, seemingly simple, that Buddhism would describe as the main problem in daily life. And this, we don't think of it this way. They're called attachment and anger. So anxiety is a function of attachment. So attachment is multifaceted. It's not just, oh, I like chocolate cake, you know. It's the deepest feeling of not being satisfied. It's very primordial. And then not being satisfied with yourself or with what you've got then causes you to hanker after something. This is one level of attachment, hanker after something. And then you'd have to try and feel when you get the cake or the person or the job or the thing or the whatever it is, thinking that when I get that, that'll make me feel satisfied. That's a very typical way that attachment works. But another way attachment works, and it works in many ways, is worried about things, worry or anxiety. So you're worried about what, you've decided you've got to do something. You know, maybe you're a worrier, so you worry, and you might worry about the traffic. You worry you'll have an accident. You worry your mother will die. You worry you won't have enough money. You worry that you're too fat. All that's a function of attachment, because attachment is this chatting, never stopping chatting voice in the head that always wants something more, never satisfied with what we've got, always worried about what might happen, what could happen, what did happen. That's a particular way attachment works. It's called anxiety. And then stress, you could argue, is when you bump into, and also attachment is always wanting things to be nice, as we were talking before, wanting things to be lovely, and then worry that they won't be. And then, you know, and then also the one of stress is when you see aversion or anger is what happens when attachment doesn't get what it wants. So if there's too much buildup in the traffic or the family, then, you know, the attachment's having a panic attack and can't handle it. That's what stress is. I mean, this is an easy way of talking about it. And it's happening all the time in our minds to one degree or another. It's really quite subtle. But the root of it is this constant dissatisfaction, this constant emotional hunger, this constant always wanting something more. And then it manifests in different ways for different people. What do you think of that analysis? Where are you? Who was it? Lynn. Where is she? That's a bit of an analysis for you. Was that helpful? Where is she?
Casey said yes, it's true.
And it was Casey's question, was it?
Casey.
Good. So it's easy to say the words, Casey, but it really is hard. I mean, this is the Buddhist approach. This stuff goes really, really deep. It's like 1,000 thoughts a second, you know, and this attachment works in different ways for different people. And so, but it's got the same kind of approach. It's never satisfied, always wanting something more, always wanting everything to be lovely. And then, you know, and then the stress part was when you don't get it or it builds up. It's like it's just this constant, and everybody has anxiety and stress. It's just because we've got attachment and aversion. And it's just how it is, you know. But it takes a while to unpack it in the way the Buddhist analysis does, because it's not how we always think in our own culture. So slowly we can become familiar with our mind, okay? And then we can actually change it. That's the miracle the Buddha says. We can change our mind. As Lama Zopa says, we can mold our mind into any shape we like, which is pretty marvelous. What else, folks? Questions?
Robina, I have a question.
Good.
Alison?
Yes, Alison.
I was just wondering about helping people. And I tend to overthink. So if somebody says to me, like, for example, my daughter has just been diagnosed with cancer, they get all upset. I listen to them, and my instinct is to want to like help alleviate some of the pain for them. So I'll listen, and then the next day I might go in, give them a bunch of flowers or something like that. But what the three things that creep into my mind, which makes me, I think, my kind act that I'm trying to do irrelevant, is I'm thinking, this will bring good karma for me. I will be seen as a nice person. And obviously my attachment's not getting what it wanted, because I don't like to see this person in front of me upset. So how can you be kind, or have you got to wait until you've reached emptiness so that your help is pure, if you like, and not tainted? Those three things creep into my mind, Robina.
I hear you, Alison, and you're super clear how you're seeing it. You're exactly right. You're seeing all the dangers, all the traps. But the reality is, Alison, it's a bit like saying, do I have to wait until I realize emptiness before I be kind? That's a bit like saying, well, I can't ride a bike at the moment, so I will only ride a bike when I can ride a bike perfectly. But I mean, how the hell else are you going to ride a bike but by doing it and making mistakes? So, honey child, you've got to start. Notice you've got kindness. Notice you want to help people. You can never criticize that. That's marvelous. But you've got to look at the other side of you, the neurotic part, which is the attachment, the neediness to be seen as a good girl. And you've got to have the wisdom in different situations to make a decision. Some days it might just be appropriate to say, I'm so sorry, and then just leave it and have compassion for them. Another day, depending on the person, you might indeed buy the bunch of flowers, and you might notice your motivation is being seen as a good girl, blah, blah, but you tell yourself to shut up and buy the flowers anyway and do it and change your motivation. You can change your motivation, but you've got to have a bit of a wisdom. Some people can be completely obsessively running around like a chook with their head off. And we say that in Australia, you Americans, it means like a chicken with your head cut off, because our fathers used to cut the chickens' heads off. We eat them for Christmas dinner. So we always talk about a chook with its head off. A chook is Australian for chicken. This is education for Americans. So you're running around like a chook with a head off, desperately trying to be a good girl, and it can just be obsessive. It can be crazy. So you've got to know your own mind and have some wisdom, darling, and learn from your mistakes. Learn. But you've got to have courage and want to help. That's marvelous. But then, just get the wisdom. You're very clear. You see it. So you're understanding the dangers.
But then I also worry about that a lot of people I interact with, I was such a fixer, Robina, like years and months ago, and I would jump in with my opinion and try to sort them out and help them. And I don't do that now. But sometimes I overthink helping people, and I think I shouldn't help because your life is none of my business. And then I'm like, well, I overthink.
Okay, so it's not a question of overthinking. You're not overthinking helping people. No, you're not. You want to help people. You're noticing it, but also you've got this wisdom now from practice. You're observing all the different tricky parts of the ego's voice, isn't it?
Yes.
So then see it all, but it's okay. Just learn to, it's okay, darling. It's all right. Keep moving, Alison. Don't try. You're not perfect yet. So make your mistakes and learn from it. As long as if we learn from our mistakes, that by definition is what practice is. You're practicing the piano. It means you're practicing learning from your mistakes, and you see the mistake and you fix it. That's what practice is. So you see your mistakes. You can't be perfect yet. You've got a way to go. So adjust it a little bit and then learn next time. And it's a growth. It's a process of learning. So you're learning about your mind, Alison, and I admire that. That's marvelous.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good job.
Marie has said, I tried a trick with the family a few events ago where they amped up with the anger.
Start again. What? I tried to do one.
She tried a trick with her family. A trick. So
tried a trick with her family. Okay, got it.
So the family were getting amped up with all the anger and negativity, talking about people and politics. And so Maria threw in a comment about watching a show about the Queen and her corgis and how hilarious it was. And everyone started talking about their dogs, which they love. And she says it didn't last long, but it was an interesting experiment. She's not sure if this was a good way to go.
I understand. Well, if it did work for a while, then fine. But you've got to look at your the wish to make it nice. You see, this is the one. This is what Alison is talking about. And this is the one we really got to look at. It's it is very tricky. Attachment in all of us, it says our main disease is at the most primordial level. It's at the level of assumption. It's not like this, oh, I want to make everything better. Oh, I want a cake. It's very primordial. It's at the level of assumption. Try and hear this. It's this constant, this particular function we're talking here, it wants everything. It's desperate that everything is lovely. And what lovely means is everything has to be the way I want it. By definition, lovely, when I say it, is what I want. So that's just how it is. I mean, attachment is attached to cake, attachment is attached to this shape and that thing and a nice nose, but this primordial level of attachment is desperate to get everything. It just needs, it has to have everything to be lovely, and it can't cope with problems. So some people, when the problem arises, get angry and shout and yell. Other people have a panic attack. Other people get anxious. Other people withdraw into themselves. But attachment has to have everything to be lovely. So the big fat practice, now talking about the mind, is to have the courage to, when the problem comes, like you start to hear your mother shouting, you know, your dad arguing, instead of the panic attack and the worry that comes, that then would cause you to rush in and want to make it nice because you're thinking you're helping people, but you're terrified it's going to get out of control and you're not going to be happy. Attachment's very self-centered, so it can often act like it's being like a saint. And Alison's point is this, but it's very tricky. So it doesn't mean you be stupid and then your brother starts to kill your father and you don't mind, and you stay there and let them do it. That's stupid. Please intervene if you can. But somehow it's second by second, you know, when everything's starting to get, everyone freaks out. Because why? Because we all want it to be lovely. So it takes a lot of courage just to let them chat and let them, you know, be drunk and let them fight and let them talk about the football. It's okay. And if it comes too much and you can't stop it, then you go. I mean, we've got to be, this is what being in good control means, being in control of yourself, allowing things to get out of control, allowing things to get out of control. One of the terms, you know, we use in the West is control freak. That's another way attachment works. You run around trying to make everything perfect, acting like you're the, you know, the local saint. Just back off and mind your own business. Just do the dishes, you know, and let the people shout. It's a big practice, I tell you, it's huge. But observe your neediness for it to be lovely, and then observe this frantic neediness to go and stick your nose in, acting like a saint, to make it nice, as if you're doing it for them. There is sometimes, for sure, there's also compassion there. There's also compassion there. But often in those situations, just you're freaking out, you can't cope. So it takes a while to develop this level of awareness of our own mind, because the thousands of voices in there, the thousands of thoughts are all jumbling together. The good thoughts, I've got to help, you know, the negative thoughts, the panic ones, it's hard until we really developed a very solid practice, you know. As Lama Yeshe said, I can tell you about attachment for 1 whole year. We will never begin to understand it until we start developing a really good practice inside. It just takes time, you know. What do you think, everybody? We could do this blessing your speech meditation now. How about that? So have you got it on the screen, please? Have you get it on the screen if you can? And I'll do the visualization. It's very quaint and very cute. I will lead the meditation and you just open your eyes one time to recite these Sanskrit syllables. You'll see it's a really cute little meditation. I just love doing it. So just sit and relax, okay? Get yourself comfy and, you know, and just relax. Get yourself comfortable, close your eyes, and a little refuge prayer. I take refuge in the 3 rare sublime ones. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Just relax, okay? Relax. So now I will lead a little meditation. You do what you can. It's very cute. It's unusual. If you've never done anything like this before, but let me just say a bit more. It's reciting, it's visualizing something and then reciting the Sanskrit syllables, which is basically the Sanskrit alphabet. But why is because all the Tibetans, they never translated all the mantras. They left them in Sanskrit because it's said to be very powerful, very pure sound. Really huge, very powerful. And so by reciting these syllables, they say it helps purify our speech and indeed purify our mind, because our mind and anyway, it's very delicious. I love doing this. So just relax, and if you don't like it, then you can just close your ears. So now if you've taken an empowerment, you instantaneously, you just visualize you manifest as the deity. If you haven't, don't worry. Visualize Buddha above your crown. Just think Buddha is above your crown, looking very handsome. So now you think, on my tongue, just imagine, is a syllable R. It's in English, in Roman letters, it's AH, something like that. Just visualize, standing upright on your tongue. Just imagine. Use your creative imagination. And it turns into a moon disc, which is like a round, flat, white cushion. Just imagine that. All this has got very sort of subtle levels of meaning, but we just keep it simple. So the R turns into a moon disc on your tongue. That's white. So now on top of the moon disc, there's a white syllable, Om, Roman letters, O-M, standing upright on the white moon disc on your tongue. And then it's surrounding it is all the white Sanskrit vowels. And of course, we don't know them. So you just have to pretend these letters standing upright, circling clockwise around the Om on your tongue, these white Sanskrit vowels. These letters standing upright. And they're all shiny and beautiful. And then now circling counterclockwise, or anti-clockwise, as we say in Australia, the red consonants, these red letters, all standing upright, going counterclockwise. And then surrounding those are all the blue syllables of the heart mantra of dependent relation. Lama Zopa calls it that, or you might know it as the mantra of dependent arising. They're blue letters and they're going clockwise. So all of these letters, the white Om in the middle on the moon disc, the white letters circling, the red letters circling counterclockwise, the blue letters circling. Imagine all these letters upright, shiny and beautiful. So now you imagine light goes out from the Om and all these syllables, the same color as the light. It all goes to all the 10 directions, the north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, and up and down, the 10 directions. These beams of light of those colors go out to the whole universe. And what it does, you imagine it hooks the energy and all of the powerful speech of all the holy beings, all the Buddhas, all the holy beings, all the yogis, all the Bodhisattvas, and the power of speech of all these holy beings. And you imagine, move the page up, please. You imagine, move the page up, please. There we go, thank you. You imagine all these lights come from all the, hooks the blessings of all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, all the yogis, the power of their speech. They talk about the power of speech. So then all this energy coming back, and with these lights, all these 3 lights going into the syllables on our tongue, making all the letters magnificent, delicious, like nectar, you know. Now on our tongue, all the syllables full of the blessings of the power of speech of all the holy beings of the universe. Imagine that. So now we're going to recite the vowels. So you can open your eyes and it's pretty easy. But as you recite the vowels, we're going to do it 3 times. You visualize white nectar coming from the white vowels on your tongue that pours down from the syllables and pours up and fills your body completely. And what you imagine it's going to do is it will purify all your body. We're going to actually purify body, speech, and mind. It purifies your entire body. It makes you healthy and feel very light and wonderful. But crucially, it also purifies all the karmic imprints on your mind of all actions you've ever done since beginningless time to harm sentient beings with your bodies. So you imagine completely purifying this, full of this delicious white nectar, totally making your body happy and purifying it and causing it to not be possible to harm any sentient beings again. You can only benefit sentient beings. Can you imagine? Full of this purification and this marvelous power, this delicious white nectar filling you as we say the syllables. Om, I, ri, li, e, o, ao, ang, swaha. Om, I, ri, li, e, o, ao, ang, swaha. Om, I, ri, li, e, o, ao, ang, swaha. Full of this nectar, purified your body, making your body only capable now of helping others. Can you imagine? How amazing. So now we're going to recite the syllable, the consonants, and we visualize the red nectar pouring down and up, filling our entire body, and this time purifying our speech, okay? So purifying all of our uncontrolled speech, our feeling we don't know how to say the right thing, and we feel clumsy with our speech, saying the wrong things at the wrong time, all our lying speech, we mightn't even lie, you know, but we speculate. We're all full of so many opinions, and half the time we don't even know that we're not speaking the truth. So all the speculating, the lying, the confused speech, the angry speech, the harsh speech, all the bad mouthing behind backs, which is our favorite, all just the rabbiting on about nothing, all this uncontrolled speech, which causes us so much suffering, not to mention harm others. Imagine we totally purifying this and all the imprints in our mind from all this negative speech we've ever done to harm any sentient being since beginningless time, completely purifying all of this, full of this blissful red nectar, filling our body. How amazing. And it's on the bottom of the page. Om ka ganga cha janya ta dana ta dana pa ba ma yada lava sha haksa svaha. Om ka ganga cha janya ta dana ta dana pa ba ma yada lava sha haksa svaha. Om ka ganga cha janya ta dana ta dana pa ba ma yada lava sha haksa svaha. Full of this red nectar, all of our speech purified, imagining we've got this power of speech. We don't think this way, but it's very powerful. They all talk about it. You know, we need speech in our daily lives. Look at us. The pain of not being listened to, our speech not being respected, our speech not being, you know, believed, is because of not even just now, you know, some past karma of uncontrolled speech. So when we controlled our speech, disciplined our speech, and made, you know, then our speech becomes powerful. People will listen to us. People will do what we want. If you're having a meeting, people are going to respect your words. We can cultivate that. So it's so marvelous to do this kind of purification, you know. So imagine you're full of the power of speech now, such that whoever hears you, the birds, the ants, the rats, the cockroaches, your mother, they're going to be benefited by your speech. Even just you saying hello, even just saying good morning, somehow there'll be some benefit. You'll be able to benefit sentient beings. It's a very marvelous idea, you know, with your speech, just with your speech. We know the benefit of one kind word. It can be incredible. So full of this marvelous potential, all the rubbish speech purified, okay? Be so happy. So now we're going to recite the dependent arising mantra, or the heart mantra of dependent relation, as Rinpoche says. And this is going to purify the mind. You know, this helps us realize emptiness. This is going to purify the mind, which is the source of everything, isn't it? So as we recite this blue nectar, like the sky, fills our entire body and instantaneously purifies our mind, which means eradicates the root delusion, this ego grasping, this wrong, ridiculous sense of a concrete me, and then its main voice, which is attachment, and then the anger, and all the other unhappy states of mind, the afflictions, the delusions, you know, the low self-esteem and the self-loathing and the arrogance and the anger, the depression, all of the anxiety, the stress, all of these unhappy states of mind, eliminated, eradicated instantly by this blissful blue nectar filling us. Can you imagine? As we recite these syllables. Om ye Dharma hetu prabhava hetun te shan tatagato yevadat te shan shayo niroda evam vadi maha shamana yesvaha. Om ye Dharma hetu prabhava hetun te shan tatagato yevadat te shan shayo niroda evam vadi maha shamana yesvaha. Om ye Dhamma hetu prabhava hetun te shan tatagato yevadat te shan chayo niroda evam vadi maha shamana yesvaha. Blue nectar filling us. And not only eradicating all the negative states of mind, but what else is now activated all the positive states of mind, because these are at the core of our being. These can never be eradicated. Who we are is our virtues, our goodness, our clarity, our wisdom, our love, our compassion. Now they can be completely developed because we've imagined all the rubbish gone. How amazing. Because these virtuous qualities, this wisdom and compassion are our true nature. Imagine they're fully developed. How incredible. So as Lama Zopa says, imagine almost your tongue becomes heavy and strong. It's like indestructible. Nothing can harm it. Nothing can take away from the power of your mantra, the power of your speech. So have very strong confidence that all the blessings and all the power of all the speech of all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, all the sages, all the yogis have entered your speech, and your speech is perfected. Think, I have perfected my speech. And the minute that sentient beings hear your speech, it pacifies their emotional and disturbing thoughts, and whatever you say gets actualized. I mean, this is incredible. It's a very wonderful idea, you know, because bodhisattvas need to be of benefit to people. If no one listens to your words, you're useless. You can't help anybody. So you think in this way, the power of your speech becomes marvelous. And whatever you recite, all your mantras, it becomes so much more powerful. And you'll also be able to, you know, benefit others. It's incredible. So now to go to the next page. So now you imagine, oh, the dedication's gone. Oh, there it is. So go back again. Go back. It left out the last little part. How bizarre. How extraordinary. It left out the last part. So we have to just visualize it. They left out the main meditation. I can't believe it. So now visualize, now imagine on your tongue that the red, the blue dependent related syllables melt into the red ones. The red ones melt into the white ones, the vowels. And then the white ones melt into the Om. And then the Om, I think it melts into the moon, and then it becomes like pink of Vajra nature. And then it melts into, I think I forget now, it melts into the R, and the R becomes like pink nectar that makes your tongue indestructible and powerful. And there's this sweet little dedication prayer. I mean, who would have thought you'd think of your tongue like this? It's just wonderful. The dedication prayer. May my tongue have all the courage of the ones gone to bliss. And by the power of my glorious words, may all sentient beings be subdued. And may all the meanings of whatever words I say be accomplished instantly. That's it, people. I just love that meditation. And it's so unusual. Who would ever have thought you'd bless your tongue? It's hilarious, isn't it? But listen to it. It's so beneficial. I mean, speech, you think about it. Some of the most painful times of our life is when people don't listen. People don't trust our words. People don't believe our words. People don't respect our words. And it's so painful. We have to purify our speech, you know. And one of the ways to do it is to zip the lip. Be silent. That's one powerful way to bless your speech. Second, to at least refrain from saying words that aren't true, saying angry words to somebody, rabbiting on about nothing, just useless words, and bad mouthing behind backs. If you can refrain from those consciously every day, plus be silent instead of rabbiting on all day, you will find it is a powerful practice that enables you to work on your mind and enables you to meditate, enables you to have some control over your life. It's just so logical, you know, controlling your speech. Amazing. Okay, any questions from that? Because it's only an hour and a bit, but I got a feeling we've done enough. I'm always shortchanging you on the time, I know, and it's midnight for me, and I'm not complaining. Because I'm still in my head. I'm still in my head in New York time, you see, so I'm a bit confused where I am on the planet. So anyway, are there any questions from that, or any comments or more questions, please, people? No, nothing.
This, and Venerable Robina, this was a 1 hour session. So actually you've given us 6
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Oh, how wonderful. I'm very happy then. I mean, I'm not happy. I'm so sad not to have you for another 4 hours. No, I think that, I mean, there's something, the conclusion in that meditation is missing. So find another version of it. And I make it a bit longer because it's lovely to do it, I think. I just think it's a delicious meditation. But really think of the speech, make a decision, you know, and then deal with your anger when you're home. Just control the anger's servant, which is the mouth, you know. I swear to you, it's such a powerful practice. And you'll feel happy that you can do it. I swear, it's amazing. And if you don't have uncontrolled speech, then talk all day. It's okay. Talk loving, kind words and happy words and smiley words and friendly words to everybody. Okay?
We are getting many, many thanks coming up in the chat, Venerable Robina.
Okay, I'm so happy.
I'm
so happy
for your time.
I'm so glad.
Thank you so much.
Very
and it
happy.
is now Christmas Eve where you are. It's ticked over. So we're all in Christmas Eve at the moment. Thank you very much. Please live a very long time, and please come back to Australia so we can host you again in 2024.
I will. I know, before I die, I'll try and do that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody. Thank you, darlings.
Thank you
Much love.
Venerable
Thank you,
Robina.
people. Goodbye. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Love you.
Goodbye, darlings. Thank you so much, love.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Robina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason and Amy.
Thank